Blessing, good afternoon to each and everyone. Welcome to Facts Not Fiction. As we continue our discourse, we are down in Rosilac this afternoon, and we are here as we continue the mobilization drive in relation to the 10th of December, Saturday the 10th of December, where we would be gathering at Palosico Junction, and we should be on our way between 7:30 to San Fernando. I want to welcome all our viewers, our listeners. Indeed, it's a pleasure having you in our company as usual. And as we prepare our minds to start this evening proceedings, I want to welcome on my left none other than Mr. Javid. On my right, on my left, we have Derek Bowen, and we also have Mrs. Ramada Singh. At the appropriate time, they will introduce themselves to you, and they will tell you of their portfolios in this part of the constituency. So we want to welcome you. Today I saw how the folks in Bamboo dealt with Rohan Sinanan, and I think that's the treatment that this whole government deserves. And it appears as though that we can no longer wait for them to come to us, but we have to go to them. And that is what we plan to do come on the 10th, the 7th, and the 13th of January. The 10th of December, the 7th of January, and the 13th of January. We intend to go to them because, you see, we just cannot continue like this in this country anymore. We have seen where this government continue to abuse their power. We have seen where the government continue to mismanage the funds, the finance of this country, and it seems as though that they spend more time counting their monies than actually doing anything on behalf of the citizenry of the country. So we will have to take the bull by the nose and go to Port of Spain and allow this government to know that we have had enough, and we are demanding good governance. We are going to hold all governments accountable, and that is what is lacking in Trinidad and Tobago. We tend to give governments free pass, and of course it's indeed sad every time I send my mind back to the behavior between 2010 and 2015 for not even 5% of what is happening now. And today when we look around, we realize that everybody seems to be quiet. The religious organization, dumb. Chambers of Commerce, dumb. Law Association, Judiciary, independent institution,
civil society,
papers, media houses, and as Derek said, civil society. I don't know what's happening. It seems as though it's better we just sing Amazing Grace, how sweet thou art, because you, the people of this country, I believe that you have reached the point where you simply adjust yourself. You're like a spanner. You're like a spanner. You adjust yourself to suit every situation. And I cannot understand that why all that is happening, all that is going on, and yet to the end of the day, we sit down, we remain quiet, and we allow the political directorate to do as they please. But nevertheless, we will discuss that as we go on. So at this time, I will ask Javid to introduce himself to you, the audience on social media, and to you who gathered here this afternoon. So Javed.
Good night to all. Good night, brothers and sisters. My name is Javed Mohammed, and I'm the councillor at the Siparia Regional Corporation for the electoral district of OTT Rosilak. I am here tonight to endorse my brother Victor Roberts and his initiative for this march, a march for our democracy, not just mine or his or those gathered by the table, but the entire country. This is something that is affecting all of us, and I think it is about time we stand up and we let our voices be heard, because this march will determine our future, and it is time that this government step down and make room for somebody who can lead and lead the country to brighter days, and that is no other than our leader, Ms. Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
So I will ask Mrs. Ramada Singh to introduce herself to you, no stranger to you, the people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor Roberts. To our councillor Javed Mohammed and Derek, good night, and good night to the listening audience. I just have a small message for you all. We are here, friends of the surrounding areas. This is not really a political meeting as such. This is actually an awareness meeting. A lot of times, you all are very annoyed with us, politicians, because you feel that you are not getting what you deserve. And I want to just solidify one statement that we keep saying all the time, and that is, yes, when the budget come and go, we are offered an allocation. That is an allocation based on promises. But when we're ready for the releases, we don't get it. And we don't get it, we cannot do anything for you. So people of this area, please bear with us. We know that you are disgruntled about a lot of things. And that's why we are here today. We are here to make you aware as to what we are doing. We have tried everything, what we are doing. Here now we have Mr. Victor Roberts is the team leader of the Defenders of Democracy. And we want to make a statement to this ruthless government. We will be marching against a couple of things. One is the high murder rate. Two, the high food prices. Three, the high fuel prices. Four, high unemployment. We also will be marching against the worst government ever, the worst roads, and the worst flooding, and the worst assault against our democracy by this government. On the 10th of December, Mr. Victor Roberts and his team, Defenders of Democracy, will be walking from Palaseco Junction to Port of Spain. San Fernando, sorry. Friends, we in this community have walked before. If you remember, we have walked from Faizabad to St. Joseph, and we walked for water, and we got water. Come join with us. Let us walk. Let us join hands and support Mr. Victor Roberts. Come out on the 10th of December, and remember, nothing will change until we change this ruthless government. Come join with us. Come join hands again, and we are urging you, come out and join with Victor Roberts, please. The only way to make a difference is to make this government see that we are strong and we are together. Good night, and may God bless all of you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ramada Singh, our Vice Chairman. Good night to the viewing audience. My name is Derek Bowen. I'm the Councillor for the Electoral District of Mondesi. Let me first of all say how heartbreaking it is, and our prayers for all those people in Bamboo number 2 and other areas that were flooded out. It is truly, truly a heart-wrenching situation, And our prayers go out with them this afternoon. You know, we thought it was a lot of rain, but really was the nation was crying. Trinidad and Tobago was crying for the last 3 days because of all the strife and struggles and hardship that is being put upon the nation here by this evil People's National Movement government led by Mr. Rowley. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the Vice Chairman mentioned and Mr. Roberts mentioned, one of the objectives for us here today is to sensitize and mobilize for initial work that starts on the 10th of December from Palo Seco Junction, and we're going from Palo Seco to San Fernando in the first phase. On the 7th, from San Fernando to Shogunas, and then on the 10th, from Shogunas into Port of Spain. But this can't be a march of 10 persons or 20 persons. This can't be a march of 100 persons or 200 persons. Because then we won't be sending the message that is needed to be sent to this government. So it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, green, or blue. This is a call for Trinidadians and Tobagonians to come out. Because the only way we can make this government listen to us is by a show of force, a show of numbers. Trinidadians are very quiet people by nature. So we're not into the coup and violence. But the power of the index finger is what we are talking about. Over the last couple of weeks, even years for that matter, we've been hearing people making comments like PNM and UNC the same thing and PNM and UNC the same, all politicians. That had to be foolishness. Because you cannot compare 2010 to 2015, and I'm talking about 5 years of work by the People's Partnership Government, led by Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, with no other term in office of any time the PNM was in government. There is no way you can make that comparison. So you can't say both parties the same. And I mean, there's another myth, you know. A lot of people keep talking about the government don't do nothing for them. But let me ask you a question here tonight. When last anyone of you take up all the garbage, put it in a trunk, and go up in the Beetham and dump it, or Claxton Bay, or Point 14 for that matter? Well, they don't do that. But the government don't do nothing for you. When last you clean a septic tank on yourself, or pay a private man to clean a septic tank? Local government again. And this is what we need to understand, people. We considered elections are, oh gosh, me about to vote, the same thing will happen. But that's not the case, you know. There are people in parts of the world who kill for the power that we have. There are people in parts of the world that die to get this kind of power. And we take it for granted. So as we sit and we discourse tonight, let me tell you something. For the last 7 years, the PNM has fixed absolutely nothing in this country except themselves. And that's a fact. It's all over us. You can't drive 10 feet and you have see a landslide or 20 pothole. No water in the pipes. Every other day the water is out of the pipes. People can get water in weeks. So what is the comparison? How could you sit down with a good heart and say PNM and UNC is the same? Did anyone see Mr. Keith Rowley, our Prime Minister, with a toll bus anywhere in all this disaster? When Kamala Persad was in government, she had her toll bus ready to roll anytime they call on she. You all see any of the PNM councillors anywhere? You know? While people underwater, they have on their boat tie in San Fernando fetting. You really think that Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar would have leave people and go and fet? Well, they had to be mad. She'd have fired every single one of them. That is what leadership is about. So as we proceed during the afternoon here and discourse, you know, I really hope that tonight we can hear some views of the residents, of the plight, they're suffering in this area. You know, because that's important. It's not just about Victor, Javid, Mrs. Ramadasi and myself. This is about Trinidad and Tobago. And let me tell you something. If all you feel that tomorrow election call and Kamala when everything fixed, all you're wrong, eh? Because the damage that is being done, not only to the infrastructure of this country, but to the reputation of this country, is going to take a while to fix. So we can't just assume with a magic wand everything fixed. We had good days, 2010 to 2015, everybody happy. But apparently they was too happy. We chose to go the route of the People's National Movement, and this is a democracy. So, and after all that suffering from 2015, we put them back again in 2020. Are we trying to be really serious? The other conversation that people, the other talk that's going around, the opposition ain't doing nothing. Let me ask you, Trinidad and Tobago, what it is that all you want the opposition to do more? Because we are on Monday virtual, we have press conferences on Sunday and sometimes during the week, we have Douglas politics, we have this program, facts, not fiction. Only remember one thing, we didn't vote in our opposition, we became opposition by virtue of not winning. So, you're not an elected opposition. But listen, that aside, I want you all to really take out of all your heart this thing about Indian and African. Because that is what killing this country, We kill each other because of Indian and African. We have good neighbors. Indian neighbor, we going down good whole year. Election bell ring, ping, they stop talking to you. But the next day after election, they come in to ask your neighbor, where you cook? So what's the real sense behind that? There's no purpose behind that. We're just being foolish. We need to start focusing on the future of our children, our grandchildren, and what is best for our country. We don't need to be talking about race. Race is not important to us in this country. Race, we're too small a country to be studying race. The amount of roaches you eat growing up is a shame. So it doesn't like race where I grew up. This is about us, the country, our children, our grandchildren. Like a couple nights ago, I was in another meeting, and that was in Thick Village. And I made mention, do you all know how many parents, right now, right as we speak, cannot put a plate of food on the table for their children? Do you know what parents, right now, again as we speak, don't know how to send their children to school on Monday morning? Do you know what parents had to take their children out of university because the GATE program was shut down or curtailed or whatever they want to call it? Restructured, that is a favorite word they're paying them. You know how many parents, husbands might have committed suicide because they lost their job and they can't put a plate of food on the table. You know how much stress that is for a human being? Santa Flora, Palo Seco, Marabella have become just like Labre, a desolate piece of part of Trinidad and Tobago. From Pala, roti shop, everything shut down because there is no money running through the economy anymore with the closure of Petrotrin. And let me tell you something. Petrotrin didn't only serve the purpose of employment. I think we missed that. The social impact that Petrotrin had in the community and the surrounding community was humongous. Pan movements, other social activities has gone dead. So before we go through all, let us sit down Trinidad and Tobago and think about the future of this country. Do we like where it's going? Are we happy? Are we safe? We reached 551 or something like that in the murders of the year? Just imagine that. 551 persons were murdered. And we still have about 30 odd days again for the year to finish. It is scary. It is scary, scary, scary. Believe me. This is not our beautiful island. So, as we go on tonight, we hope that we, as I said, we hear from the community a bit, and I will pass you back on to Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us get on into some serious issues. Derek just reminded us about the numbers of murders in this country. And I have seen the minister, who I call the 3D man, Minister Hines. I call him the 3D man. And when I look at the 3D man in Parliament, on the motion which was brought by the opposition in relation to crime, and I saw how the 3D man zanting and carrying on in a particular manner as to say, who is the real criminals? And I was happy that the 3D man were able to ask that question. Because I think if the 3D man, if Fitzgerald Hines look into the mirror, I think he will be able to answer the question. Because I am saying today that this government, they have continued to perpetrate criminal acts against the citizens of this country. We have seen this government, ladies and gentlemen, that they call the PNM government, from inception, from even under the days of Eric Williams, when we look at all the corrupt activities from the days of Pivot and O'Halloran, come straight up to the Tesoro scandal, come straight up to the Calder Heart situation. We have seen that a chairman of the PNM at one particular time, the court had ruled on certain decisions that he took to benefit himself financially from that home mortgage bank. We have seen, ladies and gentlemen, the number of corrupt activities that occurred under this PNM regime. And yet I am still trying to understand how come the people in this country remain so quiet. We have seen the PNM government under Patrick Manning had appointed Mark Guerra, who was a criminal according to the TTPS, appointed Mark Guerra as an advisor to Gerard Nine in local government. We have seen, ladies and gentlemen, all the gang-related activities. We have seen the association and the way in which the PNM associate themselves with gangs in this country. We have seen gangs mobilize and campaign and canvass for the PNM in this country throughout the East-West corridor. We have seen a major conspiracy that took place in this country in 1990 as a result of the PNM. And today, ladies and gentlemen, it's no different. It's no different. We have seen a man from Silots who the TTPS tarnished as a criminal. And we have seen that man enter into President's house with a PNM candidate for Port of Spain South. All this and more we have seen. And to the end of the day, when Fitzgerald Hines will stand up in the Parliament and ask who is the real criminal, I want to tell Fitzgerald Hines that the real criminals in this country is your government, Hines. It is your government. I want you guys to explain to us Camille Robertson wages $143,800 fiasco. You want to know who is the real criminal, Hines? I want you to explain to us the Foster Cummins $4.4 million in venture credit union, Hines. You want to know who is the real criminal? I want you to explain the indemnity by Faris Alwari and others in high places in this government with Nelson, a criminal, a convicted criminal. When you, Hines, according to Faris, had full knowledge because Faris said that he discussed it and your name jumped up in the bag. So I want you, Hines, to tell us who is the real criminals. Tell us how the state took taxpayers' money after arresting Nelson and charging Nelson and having Nelson agree to some sweet bread bargain that your government took $6 million of taxpayers' money to pay for the lawyers of Vincent Nelson in a matter where y'all arrest him. Y'all took taxpayers' money and paid to defend him. And on top of that, y'all lobby with a foreign jurisdiction not to pursue criminal charges against Nelson. And on top of that, we are also learning that a pardon was in place by the president of Trinidad and Tobago for Nelson. So tell me something. Who is the real criminals, Fitzgerald Hines? You tell us. You must be man enough to stand up in the parliament and tell us that the real criminals is your government. Stand up and tell Trinidad and Tobago that the real criminals, the biggest gang in this country is the PNM. Tell us the way in which you all have conspired.
And if he name man, why he don't call people name outside parliament? He want to stay in parliament under the cover of parliamentary privilege and call people criminal. But he don't want to come outside under the open.
Since I know Fitzgerald Hines, I always know Fitzgerald Hines to be a curtain. Always hiding something. Always hiding something. They wouldn't come out in the open and talk. They have to stay in parliament because that is the place where the Speaker of the House will allow them to tell lies and to tarnish people's character. That is the place where they already control and have a madam entity of the Cosa Nostra that will do their bidding, that the opposition would not be able to speak out against all that is going on in government. So Hines, you tell us who is the real criminal. You tell us. Tell us about the indemnity. Tell us how your Prime Minister interface and withdraw whole meritless and mash up the Police Service Commission, interfere with the democracy of our country, contaminate the Independent Police Service Commission, mashing it up. Tell us, Hines, who is the real criminal. So since you can't tell us, I will tell you. The behavior of your Prime Minister, that is criminal. The behavior of you, Hines, standing up and not able to fulfill your mandate and telling Trinidad and Tobago that you are not charged with the responsibility to protect citizens, that is criminal. To stand up, and Hines, I'm asking this one time, I asked you already and I'm asking you again, did your wife give out government vouchers throughout the pandemic? Did your wife give out government vouchers to a church in Santa Flora in Jacob Settlement, Hines? Did your wife give out government vouchers? Is your wife attached to Ministry of Social Development? And you must tell us, Hines, tell us if that is so. Tell us if your wife give out government vouchers. Because if your wife did give out government vouchers, I want to tell you that is criminal. You want to know who is a real criminal? Well, let me help you. A special branch report came out on Foster Commons, and the special branch report state where Foster Commons was involved in illegal let me be careful. The report stated that Foster Commons was associated with criminal entities. And what did your Prime Minister did? Your Prime Minister, what did he do? He shelved that special branch report and moved Foster Commons from a senator, and a matter of fact, what he did is that he gave Foster Commons what we normally call in normal life a promotion. So from being in the Senate, after having the special branch report, and after the branch report state that this man was associating himself with criminal activities, land grabbing and other illegal stuff, then what your Prime Minister do? He promote Foster Commons. That is criminal. When you have a Judith Jones report which state that young boys have been molested, sexually abused by high-ranking officials, when we look at the SAPGA report and we saw that those high-ranking officials is members of the PNM, I want to tell you that when Keith Rowley took that report together with Ayanna Webster Roy and shelved that report, after Judith Jones' report state what must be done immediately to stop the abuse of our children, Rowley and Ayanna Webster Roy did absolutely nothing with the report but to cast it in a corner. That is criminal. That is criminal. When you have Fitzgerald Hines, when you have Stuart Young and Faris Alwari walking into the cabinet and walking out with a door just closing behind their back and millions of dollars is being transferred as a result of their recusal, I want to tell you, Hines, that is criminal. Those are the real criminals. When you have Fitzgerald Hines, you as the Minister of National Security, an incompetent idiot like you, who cannot reduce or who cannot bring any policy to the parliament that will reduce crime and to allow the citizens of this country to be safe, Hines, that is criminal. It seems as though to me that you are collecting money under false pretense, because if you cannot do the job and you are collecting wages for doing what you're not doing, then that is also criminal. So I want to tell you, Trinidad and Tobago, do not allow this government to hoodwink you. When you look at so many roads that have been falling apart long before the rain start to fall, long before the rain start to fall, and this government have allowed all this infrastructure to collapse. We have schools, kindergarten, primary schools going up in Highwoods because of the vindictiveness of this government. And I want to tell you, it seems as though that this government have a problem with Indian people. I am telling you, because when you examine the geographical discrimination against the corporations that is manned by the UNC, you will understand that this government have a serious problem. And that is why I salute those who run Rohan Sinanan like a puppy in bamboo today. I salute you, because Rohan Sinanan and Kazim Hussein and all of those guys, they don't have your interests at heart. They don't have your interests at heart. They are counting more money than work. They are counting more money than the work that they are doing in this society. So don't let the PNM fool you. Don't let Hines and this next one, Camille Robinson, rages. You know, my mouth does slip sometime and say Camille Robinson racist, but I'm glad I get it right. Camille Robinson rages. Sometimes I just mix up. My tongue have a little twist now, so I just mix it up. I want to tell Camille Robinson rages. I want to tell you, Miss Madam Rages, that you might be a bulldog for the PNM. You might be a Rottweiler for the PNM. But let me tell you something. In the UNC, we have vets. And when we have vets, we know exactly what medication to give bulldogs and to give Rottweiler. So you sit down and cool yourself. Or you cannot intimidate anybody on the UNC side. Or you cannot intimidate us inside the parliament. You cannot intimidate us outside the parliament. Or you cannot intimidate us at all. Because I will tell you, PNMites in that parliament something. When you look at the performance of the UNC, I am telling you, all you folks could do is to try to paint the narrative on Kamla Persad Bissessa and Trinidad and Tobago. Let me tell you why. The government cannot match up or man up or woman up anywhere close to Kamla Persad Bissessa. Anywhere close. So the narrative, I wanted to wake up in the morning and put any tune you like. You just play that tune as you wake up in the morning. And I am going to guarantee you, throughout the course of the day, you're going to be humming that tune. That tune will play in your mind. That is the PNM game plan. So when they sing Kamla Week, Kamla Week, Kamla Week, Kamla Week, it becomes a song. So the average population, a man tell me the other in Palasico, boy, Victor Watts, I'm supporting you, you know, but I ain't supporting the leader, you know, because she weak. I say, all right, fair enough. But why you feel, what make you say, Kamla weak? He said, boy, everybody saying so. So you see the notishness? The song sings so much that the song just going, but I want to tell you the plan behind that song. The government realized that when Kamla Persad Bissessa get back into office, that will be the dismantling of the PNM. So what they're trying to do is to target the character of Kamla Persad Bissessa, because they know to themselves that the only how they can succeed is to break Kamla. They know that. But I want to tell you something. It has some real posts. And Hines, when I say posts, I ain't talking about what does how you sleeping in the parliament. I ain't talking about that. When I say posts, I mean some backbone, some champions who will stand in the gap to ensure that the UNC returns to government and give the people of Trinidad and Tobago a breather. A breather from you, Hines. A breather from you, Stuart Young. A breather from you, Faris Alwari. A breather, a big breather from you, Keith Rowley. You see, we can no longer stand up, sit down, lie down, and be idle and allow what is going on to continue. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, it will not only affect you. Derek said it earlier on. There is some of you who cannot put a meal on the table. But while there is some, that some at this time is not in the majority. But you just hold on. You just hold on and say, I'm waiting for the election to come. And let me tell you something. While you're holding on and waiting for election to come, the numbers of who cannot put a plate of food on their table would increase. And you would be a casualty of the Keith Rowley syndrome. You will have to beg. You will have to beg. You will have to give up your pride, give up your manhood. Yesterday I told my daughter, I think it was yesterday, and I say, I am trying to figure out why when a man wants a hamper, he send any wife to ask me. I try to understand that, and I am saying, why when a man wants a hamper, he send any wife by me to ask for a hamper? Why? Because he knows I'm a real man, and he know I would not be tempted. Why when a man wants $20, he send any wife to ask me if I could lend he $20? You know what? You know what is causing that? Because men already start to give up their manhood. They're giving up their manhood. So they're allowing their wives to take the role of the man. A matter of fact, I know my friend Gary in the audience here could tell you that he know people who will send the wife to look for grocery while them lie down home in the house. He know people. But why are we allowing ourselves to adjust to every situation? The road bad like the bottom of hell. And here what we doing? We adjusting to that. So here what Derek might tell me. Victor, you might have to leave home more early because the road bad. Might tell me that. We have no water in the pipe. But here what Javid might tell me. I know a water truck who does sell reasonable. He might tell me that. We cannot get a job in this country 7 years under the PNM. And I asking you, the people, you just tell us what the PNM government has done for you. Tell us.
Nothing.
But at the end of the day, you just adjusting yourself. Every day, you're adjusting yourself. Your shocks break out. A man tell me, boy, I had to put different tires. Last night I heading out, going to a meeting in Quarry. And by the time I hit the first pothole, I started hearing noise on my van. Crack, 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 crack. I telling my madam and Omar, I say, wheel bearing gone. Wheel bearing gone. So good enough, I see a partner coming out from the Faizabad branch road at the same time. And he tell me, Roberts, I go in and open my place. They park the van inside by me. I go carry down the road. You will get your next vehicle. And you will go to your meeting. And so I did. But the point I'm making, while I'm in the garage today and they're changing the wheel bearing, about 3 people came in and hear what they're saying. The first one say, boy, you see the condition of this road? I go in and change my rims now. I can't afford to run aluminum rims anymore because I hit a hole. Bow, tire bus. So he looking for steel rim. You see, adjusting to the situation. Adjusting to the situation. The next one tell me, he said, boy, I had to go and buy a steering rack, boy, $3,500 for a steering rack, boy. You understand? He said, boy, I feel I go start to leave my car home and take a taxi. Better them taxi men can mash up. You see? Adjusting to the situation. And you could go, today somebody tell me taxi hardly working because the road collapsed in SS Erin. I did a video last night and show you that the road finally fall apart. After Rohan Sinanan come down Quarry and come down, call contractor, I believe the contractor was Namalco, and come down and they say, hey, action. Same night, road fix. I coming back from a live in the studio. I stop and I do a live and I tell her, I said, this road would not last the week. So said, so done. Last week, Wednesday, this Monday, Babai Road, that's the end of taxpayers' money. That's the end. I show you folks, they backfill the line leaking. Wasa was there when I did the video in the morning. Wasa said we were standing by to fix the leak. Excavator mobilized, lowboy mobilized, trucks mobilized, roller mobilized, material came, backfill, compact, road looking nice. Everybody say, what? PNM working? Yeah, PNM working. Pass there now. Pass there now. But everybody adjusting. So the route now is through St. Klein, come through Spring Trace, back on Corey Stretch, and you go up the road. The taxi say $15 to come Santa Flora. Everybody want to kill the taxi. Don't kill the taxi. Kill Rohan Sinanan politically. Kill the PNM politically. Don't blame the taxi. The taxi men have to buy tires, front end, shocks, spring, just as everybody else. So when the taxi say, you see Daba Road, when we going through there, we charging $15 where you normally pay $6. Don't blame the taxi. You want to kill the wrong set of people because all you support PNM for all the years in this Labre constituency. PNM give all you nothing, all you vote PNM. PNM promise all you win, all you vote PNM. PNM promise all you plywood factory, all you vote PNM. PNM promise all you dry dock, all you vote PNM. PNM just only had a promise and we ready to vote. We ready to vote. And you see the UNC people in Rosilak, I want to tell you something tonight. I want to tell you something. You see those of you who just sit on home and don't come out and vote and say we can't be the PNM, all you're contributing to the PNM in power. All you who doesn't want to come out and vote and say we can't be them, and all you're saying down home, you ready to vote? I'm making a roti. You ready to vote? The talcari nearly finished. You ready to vote? Come back 4 o'clock. You ready to vote? Boy, I ain't feel I can make it today now. All you is supporting the PNM when all you act in that way because it's all your vote to vote against the PNM. And those of you in Rosilak who saying we don't vote, then use a PNM too, and I will tell you why. Because when that time reach, you have a choice to vote for what is happening, or you have a choice to vote against what is happening. So when you vote, it simply means that you are contributing for the PNM to remain in power, because your vote is what will change things. Every vote counts. So this is a time in this country where we have to get up. March on the 10th of December from Palo Seco to San Fernando. This march is not about Victor Roberts. It is not about Javid. It is not about Mr. Ramada Singh or Derek Bowen. This march is about you. You are the individuals who have to stand up and tell this government that you are not going to condone the way in which they are breaching the Constitution. Later on, Attorney at Law Kyle Taklal Singh will come up and explain to you the seriousness about the Constitution and the seriousness when you allow the Constitution to be breached. This PNM, from inception in the Parliament, the procurement legislation prepared by the UNC, come to the Parliament, ready to go. But you know what? The PNM will never, they will never give that procurement legislation full teeth. You know why? Because the regulator within that procurement legislation, he becomes the check and balance. He becomes the one to scrutinize. So Rowley and Stuart Young can't go Australia and buy boat like they did and come back and tell we boat costs 100 million and nobody can ask a question. Under the procurement legislation, that can happen. Rowley and Stuart Young can't jump on a plane and go to some pretty country, a country where, you know, these people, where all the Swiss currency does tangle up, and a country where immune from certain jurisdiction investigating who have money here and who have money there. But they jump in on a plane to go to have this energy discussion When the people who are there, they had to have energy discussion with is right in Trinidad, the man had to jump on a plane and go there too. So you in Trinidad, them in Trinidad, we have no energy discussion here. But they jump on a plane and they go on OE and they tell you, we went to talk energy on your behalf. Well, I don't know. Well, I know energy does put money in the bank. But I want to find out who account that energy putting money in. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot sit down in this country and do that great injustice to your children. You cannot sit down in this country and do that great injustice to your grandchildren. Every woman will want to have a child at some point in time. Well, the majority. Every man, well, I'm frightened to say this, you know. I'm frightened to say every man want to be a daddy. Because so much women, when they ask them where the child father, they know. But every young, thinking, constructive man will want to have a family. And when you have a government who have removed and break down the whole employment sector to save a financier of the PNM, fire a minister of energy, fire Nicole Oliveri. I mean, Nicole Oliveri was worse than Jeffrey, worse than Barrow. But Nicole Oliveri looking good right now. She looking real good. Because they bring McClashy, who is worse than Oliveri. But they fire Nicole Oliveri because Nicole Oliveri allow an audit, a Petrotrin audit, to take place under her watch. And let me tell you something, Nicole was fired while she was in a Caribbean country. She went for a quick visit. I remember a press conference, Archie, where somebody asked a question to the Minister of Energy. And Bobby Head get up and say, Bobby Head is Rowley. Get up and say, we have one of that. And you better, what you say? No way you're saying or shut up or some.
That is correct. That's correct.
Disrespectful talk. A big prime minister. A big prime. I wonder if I should say that too, boy. A big man who's saying no in the prime minister chair. Who have disrespected women on every level. Who have disrespected men. A matter of fact, he disrespect the office of the prime minister. My little son there, very brilliant. And let me tell you something. If you ask him what you want to be, I could tell you what he don't want to be. He don't want to be a prime minister and he don't want to be a president. And ask him why. You could call him and ask him why. Because he know that the prime minister is a failure and the prime minister is not a role model in this country for any child. Any child. The president who we would have expected to stand up and guard the Constitution, which is a responsibility. The president who could lecture on constitutional laws. That is how brilliant Paula May Weeks is. She could lecture on constitutional law. Well educated, well equipped. We say, well, right, Paula is the person. Well, boy, Paula May Weeks is the worst president to ever sit on that chair. Because Paula May Weeks know that when this merit list leave the police service commission, after it went through that process where they will base their results on merit, after doing scientific polls and investigation to select the most suitable candidate as commissioner of police. And this merit list, the Constitution will tell you that when it is sealed and it left that independent institution, it goes to another independent institution, which is the President House. And the Constitution will tell you that once this list reach there, The next place it must go, this list is like a Rasta man. It's forward ever, backward never. It can't go back. This list from President House needs to go to the Parliament. And there, the Electoral College will decide going forward as to who they will select as the Commissioner of Police. Now I want to tell you the seriousness inside of that. Gary Griffith, according to that list, topped that list. When you have a prime minister who could influence a president, which is an independent institution, the separations of power make it clear. But yet the prime minister were able to infiltrate that independent institution, causing the president to be contaminated with political interference and intercept that list from the president. And then to the end of the day, we had a police service commission constitutionally in place, mash up because of Keith Rowley and Paula May Weeks, together with Bliss Sipasad, who was the chairman of the Police Service Commission. Now, why that happened? Trinidad and Tobago, you need to pay attention to what is happening with your democracy. Why that happened? It happened because Keith Rowley have a problem with Gary Griffith. Now, I don't care about the problem with Gary Griffith. I don't even care if Gary Griffith was the worst commissioner or the best commissioner. That is not my issue. My issue is when you allow political interference to contaminate an independent institution, then our democracy is out the window. Then our constitution is suspended. So what we have in this country today is the constitution of this country no longer rules us. It is whatever Keith Rowley said. If Keith Rowley say no beach tomorrow, that is what it is. If Keith Rowley say no work tomorrow, that is what it is. And I feel, thinking if I should go there, you know, I feel that the way some people support Keith Rowley, if Keith Rowley do like David Koresh, I think that the men will agree. And if you don't know what David Koresh did, check it out when you go home. That was the church. Remember the church? I know Gary, I'm sure Gary know. If you don't know what David Koresh did, check it out when you go home. If Rowley tells some people that, they're going to do that too. And that is where we are now enter into the footsteps of a dictator. That is where we are. We are at a serious place in our constitution. We are at the place where if you, me, he, she, he don't stand up, then, Omar, stand up. Then this little child here will have no future. Absolutely no future. So what we are calling you people to do, we're not calling you to riot, you know. Calling him, but calling a little riot. Because he was happy to say, I raised it once, I raised it twice, I raised it 3 times and they ain't riot yet. So I'm going to raise it a 4th time, and that he did. But we ain't riot yet. We're not calling nobody to riot, you know. We're calling you to come out on the 10th of December by tens of thousands and send that message to the government that we have had enough with dictatorial rule in this country. That is what we are asking you to do. We are calling you to send a message to the government to tell Keith Rowley that you need employment. We are calling you to come out to tell Keith Rowley that the youths of this country need opportunities. This government have dismantled every institution, every organization, every entity that Kamla put in place, where you would have had a book grant, where when them worthless father gone, and you with your baby alone, would have get a little baby grant to help that child live when the worthless boy gone. Every opportunity, textbook, gone, laptop. Well, I know what he's trying to do now. But everything that you had, every opportunity, a university was building in Debe. You know what that university was for? That university was to help those of you in the Southwestern Peninsula, that you would not have to go to Port of Spain and you would not have to pay rent. You would have gone right there. Foreigners would have come in, and they are the ones who would have to pay rent. Bring in Forex, bring in US money, you understand, to your country. That was the plan of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. But we have allowed a madman, a man who have no brain, a man who have no compassion, a man who will tell you anything, who will stop and tell you, no, Jack, whatever, whatever. That is the kind of man that people support. And I am amazed to see in Labre, I have seen people sleeping on the pitch. Look, Derek, there, if I lie, he will tell me. My children there, they will tell you too. We campaign in Labre, people sleeping on pitch, plyboard, 4 blocks on the ground, plyboard and a mattress on that. When rain fall, the 4 blocks is the river, water pass underneath. And they had the babies sleeping on that. And you know what? They have a PNM flag waving inside there. That is how evil and wicked the PNM have allowed people to become in this country. They have infiltrated the minds of the people, that people no longer see what is right. People no longer stand up against what is wrong. People just keep adjusting to the evil and the wickedness of this Keith Rowley administration. I want to ask Rosila tonight, if you people will do like the rest of the country and adjust to Keith Rowley, or you will stand up against and demand fairness, justice, and equity. The wealth of this country belongs to you, the people. This is not PNM money. PNM not doing you a favor. When PNM bring hampers, you feel it's a favor. You feel a hamper coming out of Rowley pocket. You feel it coming out of Alwari pocket. It's your own taxpayer dollar. And it won't even reach Rosilak. And you still have to go and beg. And they have to watch you good. And if in Labre, let me tell you in Labre, you know, if you're here too straight, you have no hamper to get neither. That is how evil and wicked these people really is in this country. If you're here too straight, you have nothing to get. That is the reality. Gary went for hamper once or twice. I know why he went. He went to test the waters on my behalf. And you know what they tell Gary at one time? Boy, you can't get a hamper here, boy. We see you campaigning with Victor Roberts. We see you campaigning with the UNC. So it appears as though that the hamper that the taxpayer dollar paying for, it appears like the rice, the half-rotten chicken, and whatever else they put in the bag. If you don't have a Balize symbol on your forehead, like the mark of the beast, then you have nothing to get. This is what we must stand up against. I will tell you something. I just give out hampers out of my own pocket. And let me tell you something. I make enemies. You could go back on social media, you'll hear people saying, Victor Roberts gained PNM people hamper and we UNC ain't getting. And let me tell you something. They have a point. They have a point, you know, because I have a policy. And that policy have me some people in like me, and it doesn't matter. Sister, if I give you a hamper on this occasion, on the next occasion, that next sister getting. And on the next occasion, that sister getting. Because when some people help me from somewhere central, it have a particular gentleman, and he asked me not to call his name. He just called me sometime and say, Roberts, I'm making up 50 hampers here for you. I'm making up 50 hampers here for you. Come up and collect it and distribute it amongst the people. You know what I used to do? I used to give everybody who I see have need, I don't care if it's PNM, UNC, or you don't vote. And I will tell you why. That hamper in the bag, if you feel that hamper is for your vote, then something wrong with you. But you know what? That is how PNM do it. Because when they get a hamper, they take your name, they take your ID card number, they take your phone contact, they go on the list, and your address, and they mark you out. They mark you out here. And bet your bottom dollar, as election bell ring, they buy your door, and they remind you to. You remember you eat PNM hamper? Well, now is the time to keep the PNM in power to get our next PNM hamper. And some of these idiotic people, sorry for calling them that, but that is what it is. Some of these idiotic people will jump up and go out and poll votes and get this just to get a hamper. Let me tell you something. We need a government who will move away from this hamper drive and create employment that you could sustain yourself and your family. And that government is the UNC. Yeah. That is what you need. You need a government that will create job opportunities for young people. And that is what you need. You don't need a government to breach constitution, to have schools growing up in Highwoods. You understand? Cut all the programs, and to the end of the day you're suffering. You have to get up and come out on the 10th of December. The 10th of December is the beginning of D-Day. D-Day will be the 13th of January. And you know what? That's a Black Friday. And that is the day that we will finish this march. The first phase would be from Palo Seco to San Fernando. The second phase will be from San Fernando to Chaguanas on the 7th of January. All my colleagues and partners and friends say, Robert, it ain't no Christmas to celebrate, boy. We marching right through. We marching right through. I say, boy, hear what? Give the people the opportunity for them to realize that it ain't no Christmas to celebrate. And they will come out more on the 7th. So the next day will be the 7th. And the final day will be on the 13th, which is Black Friday. And there we will be marching from Chaguanas straight to Port of Spain. And there is where we must be in our tens of thousands of people. We must make 1970. I know I actually have it on the screen there. 1970, we was in similar condition, you know. Back in 1970, you couldn't get a job in the bank, you know. Or you couldn't get a work nowhere, you know. And you know what? It take a few men with testicular fortitude, huge testicular fortitude, to stand up and let the same PNM government, because it was Eric Williams at the time, let the same PNM government know that, hear what? We have had enough. And because of those individuals that we seldom recognize is what have you and I in this country had a better way of life where we could have worked anywhere once we qualify, anywhere, in any institution. But it has since been reversed by this government. So you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. I want to invite Kyle Takla Singh, an attorney at law. I want to invite Kyle Takla Singh, the attorney at law, to the head table. And
I want to share something with you. Because I mentioned something just now. And I really want to share this with Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, Victor mentioned the inequity of these funds to the corporations. I want to get a pen and paper and write this down, eh? Because sure, none of them know this. Port of Spain City Corporation and Arima Borough Corporation is 12 kilometers square in size. Listen to me. San Fernando City Corporation is 19 kilometers square in size. Wait, if I have met my man, listen to me. Point 14 Borough Corporation is 20 kilometers square. You know the size of Saparia? 495 kilometers square. We are 25 times larger than point 14. 26 times, oh man, lost it, man. And 41 times larger than Port of Spain and Arima. You know what money are we going to get? Port of Spain get $220-something million. We get 79. So that is for sure. Now, when I did this for a debate we had, and the PNM, they stay quiet style. They answer a word.
Yeah.
And they say, why? So only talk about the PNM thing. I say, if I put sugar on borough corporation in this, and you see I only use boroughs and cities, because the system will be a borough just now.
Yeah.
So I'm comparing what we going to get now.
When the system might be a borrow, you might have to borrow from some.
We borrow a long time. That's our norm. So I want to get this figure because it's amazing the kind of money that is right. Port of Spain, this is fact and not fiction. Their allocation for what we call recurrent, which is your day-to-day running of your business, is $224,137,400. Arima is $92,520,000. Sanfona is $138,480,000. Point 40 is $79,863,000. Ours is $81,149,000. So I say this to say this. It have no way in hell they could ever have more roads, recreation facilities, cemeteries, than Superior. And this is this is what's going on all the time. You know? Inequity of disbursement of funds. As you said, your money. So the people in Port of Spain could live a better life with your money than you can live down here. They're more valuable than you. So that's just what we have to be living with in this local government scenario. Kyle, good afternoon, brother.
So before I go to Kyle, I want Derek to understand that he must recognize that his corporation is not a PNM corporation. And if he understands that his corporation is not a PNM corporation, then he will understand why he is treated in that manner. And if he understands why he is treated in that manner, then the next thing for Derek and Javed and Mr. Amada Singh and Sanka Singh and everybody in the precincts of the corporation, it is time for you folks to come out on the tent and tell the government that we're not taking that so. That is the reality. I want to introduce my attorney friend, a young attorney, brilliant, vibrant, very educated, well articulate. Kyle Taklal Singh is no stranger to this program. And of course, to the end of the day, he... All right, so no problem. No problem. We have a little technical... the cameraman want to make sure you get Kyle, you know. So as I was saying, very articulate, and I want Kyle to help you to understand how serious it is when a government starts to interfere with your constitutional rights and interfere with the democracy of a country. Kyle Taklal Singh, welcome.
Thank you. Good night, Victor. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody who is gathered here. Good night to all the viewers. And, you know, what you all have been having for the night, I was listening on the drive up. Very, very interesting discussion. And I just wanted to add, because you see, you people inherently understand the problems we have in this country. We understand the level of incompetence that we have to deal with, the mismanagement, the malfeasance, the wastage of money. But what people don't understand sometimes is why is that necessarily connected to democracy? Why is that a problem for the Constitution? And what is this constitutional right and constitutional rights we talk about? Well, let me tell you, every single citizen of this country, doesn't matter who you are, every single citizen of this country is entitled to certain inalienable rights. What that means is it can't be separated from you. Yeah. That is part of your being. You're a human. You have those rights. A right to life, a right to equal treatment. And you heard the councillor just now talking about inequity in treatment, because there are allocations that do not go to you, that go somewhere else. And that is because there is an unequal distribution of resources in this country and an unequal distribution of attention by the government. You know, I was listening to the Senate coming up today, and one of the motions that they're debating in the Senate today is the COVID pandemic that took place and the government's management of the COVID pandemic. And did you know the Minister of Health had the gall to open that debate, not by saying, as analysts say, number one in the world, it's better he had said that. He had the gall to open the debate to say, well, we could prove that we managed COVID the best because people who managed the COVID got national awards. That's what he said in the opening debate. The minister said, well, X, Y, and Z, I don't want to call him a public servant name, got national awards, order of merit, but who gave them the awards? The government. So the government's argument is essentially that we gave ourselves an award and therefore we managed COVID the best. That is the craziness we deal with in this country. Yeah. And the reason that is crazy is because you have a dictatorship that is awarding itself what it wants. And that is madness. Every single day in this country, democratic institutions are destroyed. We heard about, coming up on Friday, I believe they'll be debating the appointment of an assistant commissioner of police. This country suffered the most traumatic blow to its constitution when you had the prime minister selecting a commissioner of police. Because that is what it was.
Yep.
The constitution sets out a process to choose your commissioner of police. We are spiraling towards the worst murder rate this country has ever seen. And you have to ask yourself why. It's not because we all of a sudden turn into the wild, wild west in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we had crime. But under UNC government, under previous governments, you had some semblance of control. Mm-hmm. So why is it now all of a sudden crime is crazy? Out of control. Well, that's simple. If you have an organization with poor leadership, they're going to be ineffective at their job. And if you have a process to appoint a leader of a police service, and the prime minister decides he's going to interrupt that process so he could put a commissioner of police to hold an umbrella for Fitzgerald Hines and to walk behind him like his shadow, then you're never going to solve crime in this country. You're never going to prevent shootings. You're never going to send down the murder rate. You're never going to stop robberies. You're never going to stop carjackings. You're never actually going to fight crime if you do not do what you're supposed to do. Another thing that is going on in this country, and everybody is looking at it, is this Paria Commission of Inquiry. Paria Commission of Inquiry, and it's coming out. Information continues to come out into the public domain of the sheer evil. I don't even have a legal word to describe that. You could talk about misfeasance, negligence, all kind of thing, but there isn't a legal word to describe what has happened in that commission inquiry. The only word I could think of is evil, where you allowed men to die without raising a finger to save them. And I want to let everybody understand that the reason that happened is because the management of Paria is clearly incompetent, totally incompetent. But how is that linked to democracy? Well, I'll tell you why. In a dictatorship, people with merit and talent don't advance. You know who advances? The kiss asses. Those are the ones that advance. Yeah. The ones who suck up. The ones who you're biased towards. The friends and the families. Because they are more interested in propping up the leader than doing their damn job. Mm-hmm. And that is why those young men died. That is why they died. So don't feel that those things happen, that democracy and dictatorship is this far-off concept that, that is for people to drink champagne and talk about. That affects every single body. When you call for a police, and the police more interested in running down political opponents than running down the bandit that is thieving from you, that is dictatorship. When your husband or child goes to work in Paria and dies in a pipe because of incompetence by the management, that is dictatorship. When we die in great numbers here because of a disease that could easily be managed, that is dictatorship. Those are the things that dictatorship take apart in your country. When you have some dispute with a neighbor and all of a sudden you get a criminal charge, right? That's because the DPP is undermined. When you can't get justice in your court because the court moving hell and high water resources, right, to do other things instead of justice, that is dictatorship. Those are the things that affect your everyday lives. That is also a dictatorial system, and that is what this march is about. We are going to march to take back the institutions which protect us.
Correct.
You see, because every single independent institution in this country holds up our country. And if you take the legs away, our country falls. And that is why, Victor, I will be joining you, and that's why I've said that I will be joining you. I will be trying to explain these things as best as I can to the population, you know, because I do a lot of thinking about this. And it's because, maybe it's because I did history as my first subject, and I love studying history, and I love studying the way countries develop. And I have looked at countries like Venezuela, where people wouldn't believe that Venezuela was a thriving democracy once, you know. Thriving. The Chavistas came into power through election, and then they took over their country slowly, and they destroyed their country.
Easy as that.
Easy as that. And that is because it was allowed to happen. That is not to say the Venezuelan population didn't fight back. They did. But we must fight harder here, because we are a stone's throw away from that. We are on the doorsteps of dictatorship, and that is why it is important that we fight this fight, and we come out and march with Victor, and we march on Port of Spain on Black Friday in January.
And this is so important, ladies and gentlemen, because if you look right around this country and you see what is happening in every sector, it appears as though that political influence has contaminated every institution. Let's just look at the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House ought to be the referee. The Speaker of the House ought to ensure that both sides maintain respect, adhere to the standing orders, and that good debate in the interests of the people takes place. But what 1,000 plus in this country, I took a coffin to the house of Terence Dialsing, and that coffin was to symbolize the negligence, the amount of people that this Terence Dialsing allowed to die. 1 year. Allowed to die. We have seen where the infection rate at one time was 500 per day. And the most important piece of equipment, which is a ventilator, where lives could have been saved. We had 500 people admitted in the hospital, and we had 60 ventilators. I still have a jersey marked 60 ventilators is unacceptable. Still had a jersey. And this government boasts, while your loved ones, your mother, your brother, your father, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your nene, whoever, your friend, die. My wife had a friend that was admitted in Point 14. And when she went to Point 14, they said, look, we have no bed. So they have a inner step-down facility. That's the facility, the whole hospital. When she started to get worse after about 2 weeks, they carry her across to Point 14. And you know what? She remained downstairs in casualty. The nurse saying, this patient need to be on a ventilator now. You know what's the sad result? She remained right downstairs in casualty, waiting for a ventilator to free up. And you know what happened? She died right downstairs, still waiting. And we have Terence Dialsing, and Keith Rowley, and Hines, and all these idiots we have sitting in the parliament and talking about number one in the world, number one in the world. That is what happened, my brother.
And Victor, you have it absolutely right. This is a minister who told us, don't wear mask, and then wear mask. This is a man who said, this disease is mild, nothing to worry about, but then it's worse than World War I, II, and III combined. This is a minister who presided over a country with endless financial resources, yet we were the last in the Caribbean to get vaccines. Right? And then they said vaccine apartheid. Vaccine apartheid only to Trinidadians. Right? Apartheid is a race thing, but apparently it's only Trinidadians because all the other islands got vaccines. Right? This is a minister who pats himself on the back about #1 in the world using some student survey in a college and using that to say #1 in the world when the real statistics are checked in 2022, per capita, Trinidad is one of the worst in the world.
Yeah.
And he wept. Well, not to mind he's a crybaby, but apart from that, right? When you're going to war, you don't cry. You fight, and then you cry, if necessary. So, that is the shared delusion that this man labors on. He is singularly the worst person, the worst minister of health this country has ever had. And COVID brought that out. His mismanagement of COVID brought that out. And unfortunately, the lives of our countrymen had to be lost to show that. And one particular thing that bothers me and many of my brothers and sisters is that this is a government. This is a minister of health. And the person who won, I don't want to call anybody name, but he won the highest award in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So the government awarded him the highest award in Trinidad and Tobago. And you know what their advice was? What their big decision was? That Hindus couldn't cremate their dead. Because if we cremate our dead in our traditional ways, cremation will cause COVID to spread. That's what we gave him a national award for. That's what this government gave a national award for. That is Terence Dialsing in a nutshell.
So they will give Michael we a national award too?
Well, no. When you ask Terence Dialsing how he handled COVID, just like Michael Way, you go say excellent. Excellent. That is their word, excellent. We need to change the definition of excellent. You must have a PNM dictionary. I don't know if we could get that. Incompetence, put a picture of Terence Dialsing.
Yeah.
Sleeping, Hines. Right? Well, it has some other adjectives. You could see one and you could use that and put pictures appropriately. Yeah. Right? But that is what is happening in this country, and that is because, again, and I have to bring it back, the reason those suck-ups are allowed to climb the ladder and enter positions of power and management over the populations is not because they're competent and because of merit. It's who could kiss the prime minister's ass enough. Mm-hmm. That is how a dictatorship works. The only thing that they study is loyalty. That's the only qualification for them, loyalty. You're blindly loyal to the prime minister, you're blindly loyal to the dictator, you'll get the biggest position in the world. And that is how it works in a dictatorship, and we must never allow that to happen. That is why we must march. We must march against those incompetent band of tyrants that run this country. We have to fight back, Victor.
Correct.
So we have the Speaker of the House who is already taken care of by the Cosa Nostra. We have a very
Newman George wife, right?
Yeah. We have
Newman George is chairman of where again?
Paria. Oh, okay. So I'll come back to that. We have an institution that we call the Judiciary. The Judiciary, ladies and gentlemen, is a very powerful institution in our democracy. The Judiciary also has the authority to rule on constitutional matters. We have, as the head of the judiciary in our country, a Chief Justice with serious allegations hanging over his head. The allegations that hangs over the head of the Chief Justice is not a joke. There is a man by the name of Dillian Johnson who makes serious allegation and tell this country that he and the Chief Justice was spending time in some hotel in Guyana. Not me say that. Dillian Johnson. The Law Association, after gathering all the different allegations, they brought about a recommendation. I'm going to say a case. A recommendation. When this recommendation came forward, the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, took it upon himself to tell this country that there is not enough evidence for a tribunal to be set up to investigate these allegations against the Chief Justice, where the Chief Justice will have the opportunity to clear his name. To clear his name. Nobody say all that we hear is true. But this tribunal would have given the Chief Justice the opportunity to clear his name so that the judiciary would have been standing tall without reproach. Let me tell you something. You must understand what it means to be in a back pocket. It's not only a wallet you could put in your back pocket. I know you ladies like to put a little cell phone in your back pocket. But let me tell you, one of the most dangerous things is when you could put a man in your back pocket. That is the most dangerous thing. So the Prime Minister saw it fit, no tribunal. Now, two things would have happened coming out of that tribunal. One, the Chief Justice clear, or two, the Chief Justice gone. Now, if I is the Chief Justice, and I have all them allegations, and a Prime Minister decides, you see, that no tribunal, I think I will be sharing some kind of allegiance. I'm not saying the Chief Justice doing that. I'm telling you, me, Victor Roberts. If I had them serious allegation, and I know mouth open to we could jump out, and the Prime Minister say, no tribunal, then I think, well, I is the Prime Minister boy. He use a word, I don't use it. I think that the Prime Minister whole body would have been clean. Now I want to tell you something. All these, ladies and gentlemen, is infringement in our democratic process. You see that judiciary? Judiciary should be stainless because of the power. That same judiciary we speaking about does send your husband and your wife, put them to death, although we now and people. Does give them 10 years, 50 years, 20 years, 100 years. I think Goku will get some kind of 300 years when they don't count it up. But to the end of the day, it's a very powerful, serious institution. And if we have an institution like that, who could pronounce on constitutional matters, and there is allegations hanging over the head of people in high places, then where are we?
Yeah, well,
see if I can help.
Well, you argued better than most lawyers I know, Victor. I think you're lining with me and Anand Ram Logan and Jayanti Lakshmi Dayal and Saddam Hussein and Dinesh Rambali too much. We might have to welcome you to the bar. We will go to that one too. We have to understand why our judiciary is important. Without law in our country, you know how you're going to settle disputes with your neighbor? With cutlash. That is why we have law. So that when you want to dispute, now it's gone. So when you want to settle disputes, there's a law and there's a courthouse for you to solve it. Think about why we let judges tell us what to do. You go to court, you get an order. Why you just follow the order?
Yep.
You know why? Because the judiciary and the judicial system is built upon something called trust and confidence. The population must have trust and confidence in the judiciary for us to take orders from that judiciary. Not every order a court makes could be coerced by a police, right? So you have the rule of law, which sets out laws that all of us could understand and conduct our behavior by. And then you have the judiciary to interpret and tell us what the law is and settle disputes.
Yep.
That is the bedrock of a democracy, the judiciary. And a judiciary must be independent. And where you have anybody, where you have allegations against you, it is not good to have these allegations hanging over your head forever.
Correct.
You want these allegations resolved, or else people will always be saying, you know, that person could be this and that person could be that. And that is the problem with that scenario Victor raised.
Well, people
Serious
have no confidence.
Exactly. Serious allegations were raised against the Chief Justice. Under our Constitution, because the way the Constitution works is that one arm, you have the legislative, the executive, and you have the judiciary. One arm keeps a check on the other. So in the case where a Chief Justice must be disciplined, it is the Prime Minister that must start the tribunal. They did it for Sat Sharma. And that went, and we saw what that was about. When recently the Privy Council ruled that the magistrate involved in that whole scenario was hopelessly biased and compromised, because a sitting Attorney General, PNM Attorney General, is something with PNM Attorney Generals, and I don't know what water that is give them when they go Bali House.
John Jeremy,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will call him.
But they like to interfere in independent processes. And that's the problem. You have a Chief Justice here with serious allegations brought by the Law Association, and your decision, well, his first decision was, I don't want to listen to the Law Association because I was at a UNC lawyers in the Law Association.
Yeah.
That was his first decision, and we took him to court. I happened to be one of the lawyers who acted for the Law Association, and the court said, well, that is unlawful. Go and reconsider your decision. He went back and he reconsidered and said, well, I'm still not going to institute it. So the court told him, think about it again. He comes back and he says, same decision. And up to today, he technically still has the power to institute that against the Chief Justice anytime he wants, if he wants. Still has the power. So imagine the highest judicial officer who makes judgments every day in this country, either for or against the government, could be disciplined and removed by a Prime Minister. How is that democracy? How is that fair? How does that make sense for our Constitution? And those are the kind of decisions that have led to where we are today, living under a virtual dictatorship, because the Prime Minister, he's infected the police service, he's infected the Police Service Commission, he's infected the judiciary, he's infected every other independent arm of this country. And that is why we must march, because that is the last resort we have. We must demonstrate to them that we will not take this sitting down. We will not go silently into the night. We will fight for our democracy, and we rather die than live under that type of dictatorship.
So when...
Yes, Mr. Roberts, before you go on there, the last time you marched, well, carried the coffin from Erin to Port of Spain. From there to Port of Spain, we were harassed by police quite often, especially the big belly police and them. You're calling on us to come out and march again. What you think? Do we have permission to march? Would we have the protection of the police, or would we be attacked?
I want the role of the police, and in case, because I know plenty of police is listening, somebody actually make a joke with me the other day. I ain't gonna say who, but a police call and say, I see you went and Victor, you move smart, boy. You say you're sending a letter before we could shut all it down. I say yes, because he's well advised now, right?
Yeah.
They have to give us permission. They will give us permission. And when you have permission, we'll march according to the laws of this country. The law isn't to prevent, the law isn't for them to say yes or no to a march, you know. You know what the law is? The law is for us to give them notification that we want a march. And only if it's some dangerous thing should they say no to us. But their job is to uphold the law. And do you know what is the supreme law in our country? The Constitution. And at section 4 of that Constitution, very high up, it says that we have the right for freedom of expression,
Yes, sir.
and freedom of movement.
Yes, sir.
And if you are a serious police, if you really swore an oath to uphold the law in this country, then you will come out and protect us from exercise, protect us and allow us to protest and exercise our constitutional rights, because that is the supreme law in this country. And protest with us too, I agree.
Actually, you feel is a done-said lawyer have here. So, let's see the point with the judiciary and why I say, if I was that individual and a prime minister refused, then I will have to swear allegiance to the man who refused to appoint the tribunal. Now, I ain't casting any aspersions against the Chief Justice, you know. I am telling you, if it's me, Victor Roberts, right? So we look at the Speaker, we look at the Judiciary. Let us look at the Acting Commissioner of Police. The acting, because we deal with democracy here, the Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Jacob, in the inception, tell this country he wasn't interested in the job. In the inception, he wasn't interested in the job. However, because of the breaches of the Constitution by the Prime Minister, we now have Mr. Jacob at the helm of the TTPS. Added to that, we heard Gary Griffith publicly state that the Prime Minister had given $40 million, not 40,000, $40 million, and asked him to go after political opponents. I'm going to break that down. So Gary is telling us that while he was there as commissioner, Keith Rowley, government gave him $40 million and tell him that is to lock up UNC individuals. Now tell me something. We glad Gary Griffith did not, and we also glad that Gary Griffith brought the information to the forefront. Otherwise, we would have never known all this was cooking up behind the scene. Now we have Jacob, who is sitting on that chair because of Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines. Gary Griffith was a full-fledged commissioner. Jacob acting. Just suppose Jacob's ambition is to be confirmed as a full-fledged commissioner. Being appointed to the position from a political standpoint, from the political directorate, and hoping to be confirmed by the same political directorate, whenever the new police service commission finished the job, because I'll tell you something, when it reached to the parliament, they could dance and bow and weave and they could choose whoever they want. Now I want you to see the danger with political interference at the hem of the TTPS. You know what that means? That simply means that when I finish talk here tonight and I head in out the road, I could be arrested and charged for anything they feel to give me. A matter of fact, I had a protest down Palo Seco a couple of weeks ago, and for some reason the TTPS came by my house, 6 Jeep, about 17 or 18 of them, and they say intelligence tell them that I am the person responsible. And you know what I was hearing? A friend let me know that Victor, between Saturday or Sunday, you will be charged for possession of a firearm. And it's a good thing that the friend gave me word early that I was able to contact my friend and my attorney and others, and we deal with it publicly. So who knows what is cooking up behind the scene? Don't underestimate them, you know. Because if all they want to underestimate them, try and find out how the cocaine and the mortar bomb reaching Sadiq Bash tank. Remember that incident? When the cocaine and the mortar bomb reaching Sadiq Bash tank? Only remember the man who was responsible came back from Venezuela, and the man name was Vernon Paul, came back and tell this country went to another acting PNM Commissioner of Police. Let me give you that story. Went to another acting PNM Commissioner of Police and tell him, look, I was the man responsible and high-ranking officials in government were involved. And call names. You know what the PNM acting police commissioner tell that individual? It is not safe to stay in Trinidad because of the seriousness of this. So you go back to Venezuela. I will come down there and take statements from you. You know what happened? When Mr. Vernon Paul landed in Caracas back in the airport the same day, while he sit down in a vehicle to go back to his premises, two motorbike men rode up at the side, brrrr, and the same way the motorbike was singing brrrr, is the same way Vernon Paul was feeling brrrr. They execute Vernon Paul immediately. Now let me tell you something. Do not get tied up 1 minute with the level of connection between this government and the Venezuelan authorities. Don't get tied up and fool yourself for 1 second. I'm making this point to tell you something. When that could have happened under another acting commissioner of police who was appointed again by the PNM. Again by the PNM. And that, when that investigation had started, it showed that members of the TTPS at the time was involved in that operation with Ganga Singh and Sadiq Bash. And if the government will go at that length under a prime minister who had a little bit of compassion, much less under this Rottweiler we are sitting down as a prime minister, they have no mercy. And that is the danger when you allow the office of the Commissioner of Police to be contaminated. That is a serious indictment on our democracy. And I know for sure that my good friend will also tell you that these is things that we have to guard from. You see, an independent institution, as Kyle said a while ago, it is not only independent for name. It is not only independent for show. It is independent for a reason. It is independent to ensure that the checks and balances are in place in terms of governance and in terms of our democracy. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have independent senators that is appointed by the president.
We do? Where? We have independent senator?
Supposed to. By the president. But here it is. If the president allow herself to be contaminated by the political leader of the PNM, by the prime minister, and breach the constitution, what do you expect will happen with those persons who she appoint while she has the authority to remove them anytime she so desire? So let me just break that down further. So in other words, if they don't comply while they name independent, because she name independent too, you know. She name independent, but guess what? While she name independent, she operate as a PNM. So the independent senators, if you check the background, you will see how many of them on state boards. And you will see how much state boards some of them on. And that is, you know who in charge of the state boards? I'm going to tell you. You know who appoint people to state boards? The prime minister. It is the prime minister. The prerogative is his to appoint you to a state board, to appoint me to a state board, which will never happen, to appoint Kyle, which will never happen. Is his responsibility. And when you realize that we have had even persons who were dealing with COVID-19 who get award, day and all, on 3 and 4 different state boards, while they were dealing with COVID-19 and giving us press conferences Press conferences. This is what, and the red line means this, and the yellow line means that, and the blue line means the other. And the red line, they tell you the red line means all of them is PNM. They tell you that. But to the end of the day, this is what we have passing for governance. And this is why it is important that you people, you Trinidad and Tobago, all of you on this live, the 300-400 of you, it is important for you to come out and stand up. This standing up is not only for you. You have to stand in the gap for your children, for your grandchildren, for the unborn babies. You have to ensure that the democracy of this country is preserved. This democracy didn't come just so, you know. There is persons who die, persons who lose their life in order for us to have a democracy. This came with blood, sweat, and tears. That is what democracy comes with throughout the world. It is not an easy thing. Before it wasn't, as Kai tell you, we used to settle we thing with cutlass and grass knife and whatever that way it was. Now we have a democracy and we must ensure that the democracy remain democratic and not contaminated by ambitions, by ambition of political individuals who believe that a country belongs to them. Keith Rowley have so many allegations, and I don't want to go here with Kyle. I will go here next day when I'm by myself, because you see the DPP has some serious questions to answer for Victor Roberts. Serious questions, because I want to ask him all these allegations, all that we hear sitting between the commissioner and the DPP desk. You know what I looked at today? I say, but wait now. Every time Ravi Balgobin had to force the DPP to get some information in relation to this whole fiasco with Nelson. Force, judicial review, and the DPP then answer the question. But here what always comes to play when there is any high-ranking official. Any high-ranking official, the first thing coming to play is the DPP office understaff. But to look up Pablo and Krishna and Johnny and Maharaj, you know the DPP in understaff is bap bap brib bap before the court jail. But every time we talk about these high-profile matters,
Chandler,
every time we talk about these high-profile matters, all you keep hearing is the DPP telling we that his office understaffed. So it understaffed for big case, but it don't understaffed for the small boy. But I'm saying I want to go there with my Tony friendly. I like to deal with that by myself. You understand? I try to understand what's going on. I could remember that the DPP telling us that Patrick Manning was too old to go to court. And next thing I see Manning campaigning. I am telling you, Archie, the DPP say Manning too old to go to court. And next thing I see Manning campaigning with a man. That is facts, not fiction. So it seems as though in this country, there is one law for PNM and another law for UNC. That is dictatorial. That is a breach of our constitution. Welcome, caller.
I'm talking about Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir. Good night.
My name is Naipola.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. We hear you.
Robert is confused. I would like to speak to Victor.
Mr. Naipola phone steady getting trouble.
No, my phone.
That phone steady getting trouble, brother. Sorry, but we ain't hearing you at all. We just saying you after the fact.
Not my phone. It's on your end.
Actually, we ain't hearing nothing there. That makes sense. The disco, you get it? The disco. And this is reality. So I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, we have to really come out and send a message. This time for playing over. Time for playing over. You have to think about the future. Think, especially these ladies, all these young ladies in this society. I know these days ladies who really want to depend on a man. A woman want to have a good job. A woman want to be able to stand on her own 2 feet. And that is well, that is empowerment. That is empowerment. But we cannot continue to have this country where only a few people are going to benefit from the wealth of this country. Alwari, Stuart Young, Sinanan, Rowley, Hussein, the whole team, their children and grandchildren are going to be born into money. They're going to be born into money. But we have to do what we have to do in order for this thing to work.
Yeah, well, no, Victor, you're absolutely right. That is an issue of social inequality and the fact that, well, let's see if we can call it, the fact that resources are not being distributed in a way that they should.
Welcome.
We have a caller?
Welcome, caller.
Don't think we get that actually. But
welcome, caller.
I feel the phone's giving us some trouble tonight actually. But Victor, you were talking about, one of the things you were talking about is the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago,
yeah,
and the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. Together we call them the presiding officers of the Parliament.
Correct.
It is very clear to me that they don't understand their role. Yeah.
We already calls for tonight, Dash. We all them calls tonight.
Yeah, you were saying it's very clear to me that they don't understand their roles as speakers or presiding officers of the House, because as someone says, Senator Wademark always says that at the end of the day, the government will have its way, but the opposition must have its say.
Correct.
And their job is to protect the opposition's right to speak. I couldn't understand last week that Mr. Tanku said something in a press conference, and then you had the Speaker of the House not coming out in public to talk about it, hiding behind the privilege as a speaker to try and say, inviting the government essentially to hold Mr. Tanku in contempt of Parliament. Because he said on a press conference, basically criticized the Speaker's decision not to have a crime debate. And she wants to hold Mr. Tanku in contempt. But I messaged Mr. Tanku, I told Mr. Tanku, if that happens, I will be right there next to you. I want contempt too.
Yeah.
You must hold me in contempt for my mouth as well. Because that is an absolutely absurd decision by the Speaker. She has no right whatsoever trying to silence any citizen in the population from saying what they want as long as it's in accordance with the law. We ain't planning to murder nobody. We ain't planning to kill nobody. We ain't planning to rob anybody. Anything else we could say. Apart from what I spoke about, we can't say. Anything else, we have freedom of speech. We could say what we want. And we could express whichever ideas we want. And we could criticize whichever office holder we want, including the Speaker of the House.
Correct.
She ain't no queen. We can't be beheaded for criticizing her. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, you were absolutely wrong to deny that debate. And in my respectful opinion, by you denying that debate, you are aiding the crime problem in this country. Hold me in contempt. Go ahead.
Well, I think that you see, you have to watch the connection. And I think we could open the floor for some questions or some comments. We could open the floor, Archie.
Good night.
Welcome, caller.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
I want to ask a question, please. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, government corruption, as far as I'm concerned, is a robbery in progress. At what point in time can the citizens arrest the government so that they could prevent the continued robbery of the treasury? Could you give me any legal advice on that matter, please?
Every citizen of this country has the right to arrest the government, not with handcuffs. You arrest them with your vote. You arrest them in court when you file constitutional motions and actions against them. You arrest them by marching. You arrest them by exercising your constitutional rights. Because I want to tell you, the greatest and the most evil dictatorships in the world have been brought down by regular people doing what we are asking you to do. That is what happens. The wall of Berlin fell because people marched. Tiananmen Square, many dictatorships, communism, all over the world, they fell because people were willing to stand up and say their minds and speak out against government tyranny. And that is what we must do.
And that is the power that you have. And in some cases, you don't know you have. And that is what Section 4 of the Constitution grants you, that privilege. You have the power. You have the power right in your hands. And you must utilize it. When we're in crisis mood and we are at the stage as to where we are now, you have to activate and come out in your numbers and stand up and demand good governance. You have to stand up and demand that the government do what is right. The Constitution is there for all of us to adhere to, including the government. The Prime Minister is not excluded. The Prime Minister has several allegations. The Prime Minister have a house in Tobago where he tell you that he get 4,000 off. He have where it is not proven that he declared it on a form. All these allegations that is hanging over the Prime Minister's head. Welcome, caller.
Yes, good night.
Good night, sir.
I just want to comment and hope that everybody try and really understand what a dictatorship is. I will really try to give an example. Probably the COVID lockdown was a way of putting it mildly, that you have an absolute shutdown. If the Prime Minister, you could say you could go river, you could go river. You say you shut it down, you shut it down. Anything comes to his head, he could do. Right? So this is what if the PNM people want a dictatorship, too bad the other half of the country don't want it. If they want high price, the other half don't want it. If they want mismanagement of the legal services, too bad the other half don't want it. So we of this have to come out to really understand. Most of the dictators, the worst thing about a dictator, they always pick stupid people next to them because they can control them. And they create more havoc than help. Similar of the Hitler's final solution. There was a chicken farmer, right? But Hitler, once he did, he doted enough to tell him, I want to kill 6 million people. And he went and did it. So it's a process. And dictatorship comes in little bits. Before you know it, it's because you didn't know it was happening. And then you root around in it. They just had to send for people to go by people's house, drag them out, lock them up, hang them in the square, and so on. It's up. But we have nothing to share, and I will urge people, go on YouTube and try and get a little education about what dictatorship is. We had in the Caribbean here, we had this guy from the Mongoose gang. We had in Haiti the Tonto Macoute, and on and on and on. Where the dictatorship had to embrace the criminal element and tell them, only one man bust up tonight, one rape, and they will go on, and the law would not interfere. But this is what you have to protect itself from heading down that road. Where a man could come in the night and drag you out your house and go and shoot you. Well, it's happening now, the crime is home invasion. But that's just it. People need to come out from any nook and cranny that could come out and head into talk. Good night, my friend.
Thank you, caller.
And Victor, I want to ask a question in relation to the march that you're having. And the question is this: are you reaching out to like the maxi taxi drivers? Because I know a lot of people from different areas may want to join us, and their constraint might be transportation to get to the march, etc. How we planning to treat with that?
Well, we put in a mechanism in place that people who come out and march to the destination and would need transport to come back to the point of the march, that will be provided.
So then we can probably make a call to the maxi taxi drivers to support us in that regard.
Well, we send in letters to everybody, the taxi drivers. We already wrote to all the unions. We send letters out to chambers of commerce. We send letters out to some churches. So we are in the process of doing that. We're in the process of doing that, and we will be asking for people to assist as we go along.
And I just want to add to that, right? I'm not here on sensationalism. I could sit in my office, see 10, 20 clients and make money, right? I have decided to put that aside because I think this is important to our country. Very, very important. And, with all due respect to everybody, and I don't mean to insult anybody at all, right? Because sometimes I'm guilty of it too. I focus on the wrong thing sometimes. We're human, we do it. But we could all find ourselves to get together and call and hire a maxi if we want to go and watch cricket in Guyana. We could all hire a maxi to go and watch football, to do a beach, to make a line. This is important to your country. This is important for your own life. And this is important for the lives of your children. Get together. Mobilize. Don't wait for a party to do it for you. Don't wait for a counselor. Counselors have plenty things to do. They're working real harder, especially now. Right? Don't wait for some party official. Get your group together. Get your friends together. Get your family together. Get people who care about liberty, about freedom, about constitution, about your right to be a human being living in a sovereign democratic state. Get together, mobilize, agitate, organize, and come out. Don't wait on anybody. Of course, Victor will help, and whoever else could help, we will help. But this is something that the people must want. Or else if everybody don't want it, what we're going to do? I'll look to migrate or something, because I don't want to live in a dictatorship. I want to live free. I want to enjoy my rights. I want to be able to say what is on my mind without fear that Jacob will send 10 police to break down my door and lock me up. Right? That is the kind of country we must live in. We mustn't live under a constant state of fear. We mustn't be eating scraps from a table because one day Rowley decides he will give Labre something. Right? That is not how a democracy works. We have to drill that in our heads. And the way to deal with that is not to wait every 5 years and try and not oust them. That is one way. But the other way to deal with that is to stand up to them. Yep. And that is why we on our own must make this movement a reality.
Right, and Kyle, I commend you for that response. Mm-hmm. That is the response I was really aiming to get. So, that being said, Mr. Victor, I want to pledge some water to assist on the walk, and I hope other businesses and other community members come out and add a little water, a little chubby, a little whatever, to keep the march going.
Yeah. Thank you. So we have about 10 minutes, so we will open the floor to anybody who wants to make a comment or a suggestion before we close it off.
I think that gentleman is suspenders want to say something. No? Anybody could say anything? Yeah.
A pleasant good night.
Good night.
To councillors, Dr. Archie, Chairman and Coordinator, Mr. Victor Roberts, Kyle Taklansing.
Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Victor Roberts, I want to ask you, what is the route from Palo Seco to San Fernando? What route are you using to go?
SS Serene Road.
So from Palo Seco all the way passing through Siparia,
yeah,
down to Pinal, then into San.
Through Philippine.
Okay. One of the things
we will work that out on the day. Huh? Yeah, we don't have a plan for the landslip already.
Well, is
I don't want to jump ahead with the plan, but we have an alternative already for that.
Is landslip nationwide?
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say hats out to the all the flooding areas that occurred in Trinidad, and I hear the minister says get on higher grounds and take up your structure. I know how you want the people to take up the structure and move. So that's all I have to say for tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else before we wrap?
Yeah, well, Victor, I know this is a real big effort that is being put out, and as part of the organizing committee, I know we need certain contributions and assistance. I don't know if you could make an appeal to those who would be coming out on the march or who want to assist in the march, right? We need things like placards, we need music truck, and as Bowen said, we need refreshments.
Work with your effigy.
And yes, plenty of that.
Plenty effigy. They used to drag Kamala anytime we have a problem in this country, right? Well, we have a few people who want to drag on that day.
Yeah, of course. So, of course, the appeal is outside for anyone who wants to assist, whether with water, Gatorade, transportation. Mic in the area is something that we're going to be doing on the last week. Actually, we'll have some mics going out throughout the Southland. Of course, we're asking anybody who could sponsor a mic for us. We have some reasonable mic men. Some charge 500 to do a blitz in various areas. So we're asking those of you who willing to contribute. We want to have mics throughout the whole of South, through Penal, Debe, Penal, straight down to Faizabad, Orapuch, Rosilak, Labre, Point Fortin, Cedars, Sikakas, Corey, Santa Flora, all those areas we want to have mics. So I think if we get 5 good mic men, we could cover the whole area. So we are asking anybody who willing to donate to assist in that endeavor. If we have any mic persons who willing to donate their system together with their car, we appreciate it. But that is one of the things that we are looking for. And of course, water, Gatorade. And today somebody called me and they said they will prepare 100 sandwich on one hand. So we have some things happening behind the
Right.
scene.
And Victor, it would be nice for people who feel they don't want to come down to the starting point. We would like people along the route. They could put up the effigies, they could put up the placard, they could come out, and some people could probably make, in front of their property a little water station. But, we would really like people all along that route, especially when the march is approaching. They come out, bring out the effigy, put out the placard, put up a flag, right? Just to show solidarity so that, along the way, people would, because of course we would be broadcasting that entire march live so that people would see that all along the route that people had enough of this government.
Right, and well said, actually, I agree. Remember, this march, you could walk, you could drive, you could ride, you could come with a wheelchair, we'll have people to push you and all. All right? That the walk is walk, ride, drive, anyhow we could go, we go in. That is the bottom line. So those of you who cannot really walk and you have transport, you will be able to follow us as we go along. So that and while I will support the support on the side, but I'm more geared to have people join in as we go along. I'm more geared to have people join in. You see, when we reach the Port of Spain on the 13th, we must reach Port of Spain with nothing less than 30,000 people. Nothing less than 30,000. So that is why it is of utmost importance. Welcome, caller. All right. So welcome, caller.
Good evening, Victor. Good evening, Archie. Good evening, Kyle. Security House. Short and sweet. Just want to say, Kyle, nice to hear from you.
Good evening, El Seguro.
Good evening.
Yeah. Hi, Kyle. Hope everything's good with you on your end. Hope everything is okay. Just wishing you all the best. And, just a short message to all Trinidad and Tobago. This too shall pass. Also to the young people. If you didn't notice, Victor, we kind of headed into the Christmas exam period. a lot of students writing exams and things. My message to them is to just, bend your head, do your best, put your best foot forward, study smart, not too hard, study smart, and this too shall pass. And, look forward to the new year, right? Thanks for that. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we ask you to call us. My number is 316-4468. You could go back on the live and get it after the program finished. 316-4468 is my number. I give everybody my number all the time, every time. I have one phone. So you could call me anytime. Tell me what you're going to donate, how you're going to donate it, and we will welcome. So we are asking those who have mics. Welcome, caller. Welcome, caller. So we are asking those who have mics and so on to, if you can donate it, or if you can't, we are asking anybody who wishes to sponsor a mic for a particular area, we welcome that. All right? Welcome, caller.
Yes, it's me again. Sorry about that, but I just wanted to endorse what both of you were saying concerning the constitutional right. Apparently, it is acceptable in all G7 countries. So it's nothing new for us. So we should be able to uphold it. No fear of failure, yes. It's all over the world, except in dictatorship countries.
Thank you, caller. We want to say a special thanks to Deumati for allowing us the use of this premises. We do appreciate it. I think we just about time to wrap up, and we want to also thank those of you who came out here tonight, and we do hope that you will spread the word and that you will help mobilize, and we will see you on that day, and let us really send that message throughout the length and breadth of this country. The next meeting will be held on Friday at Santa Flora at Palo Seco. Right, so Palo Seco will be coming your way on Friday afternoon. So be prepared, Palo Seco Junction, right at the office. We will be coming your way. So, closing words?
Victor, I'm heartened to see so many of you supporting us, both on the live, here present. It means that we are gaining steam. Many people are also contacting me to support. They want to find out how to support, in what ways they're going to come out. This is going to be successful if we want it to be. Yeah. We must not surrender our democracy to these tyrants. The only way to fight back is the way our Constitution has given us. That is by expressing our freedom of movement and our freedom of expression. We must come out and march. And let me tell you, trust me, change will come. Change will come if this is a success. And if it doesn't come, you could hold me responsible. I'm willing to put myself on it, but it will. We must believe it, and it will come. Right?
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law, for traveling all the way down throughout the flood, the length and breadth. I know you have passed several bottles of water on your way down, and we
my love for democracy gave me wings.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. We want to thank each and every one of you who came out here tonight and supported us. And of course, we want to say at this point in time, good night to each and everyone. It was a pleasure being down in Rosilak again. And we ask that Friday we will be in Palo Seco, and we will let you know what is happening for Thursday via an ad. So until then, God bless. Good night to those of you on the live who continue to support us, and good night everybody present here today. There's some refreshments available, so don't be shy, make use of it before you go. And